I didn't expect one of the biggest surprises of the summer to be a George Washington origin story, and as always, I have a few thoughts on this one. So I just got out of seeing Young Washington, and before even talking about the movie itself, I have to mention the experience. I saw it on a Tuesday night after opening weekend, which is usually a pretty quiet time to go to the movies, and the theater was completely full. That surprised me. It was also my first Angel Studios movie. I'd heard a lot about their previous films, but this was the first one that really caught my interest. The film tells the story of George Washington before the Revolutionary War, before he became commander of the Continental Army or America's first president. Instead, it focuses on the years that shaped him, surveying the Virginia frontier, his relationship with his half-brother and mother, his first military command, his failures, and the experiences that eventually turned him into the leader that history remembers. Right away, I was impressed. For what I assume is a relatively modest budget, I think they pulled it off. The visual effects aren't perfect, but they're more than good enough. The score is pretty great without overpowering the film. The costumes are fantastic, and the production design does a great job bringing colonial America to life. Whether it's Mount Vernon, Lord Fairfax's estate, or the force of the Ohio frontier, the world feels authentic despite not relying on massive sets. The script isn't perfect, though. There are a handful of moments where the dialogue feels just a little too modern or a little too written. Early on, there's a moment George tells his mother, "I want more than this," and she immediately replies, "Well, I want a husband." It doesn't sound like two people naturally talking. There's another scene where George is playing chess with his half-brother, and he asks, "What are we?" And his brother responds, "We're pawns, but even a pawn can take down a king." That line's repeated a couple times throughout the movie, and every time it felt less like dialogue and more like the writers reminding the audience what the theme of the movie is. The cast is one of the movie's biggest strengths. William Franklin Miller, who plays Washington, completely carries the film. I wasn't familiar with him before him, but he has to play two different versions of George, an inexperienced young man who's constantly over his head, and later confident, resourceful military leader. He pulls both sides off really well. I only wish the script had given him more room emotionally. There are moments where important people in his life die, and the film moves on pretty quickly instead of letting those scenes breathe. Those quieter moments could have added another layer to his performance. The supporting cast is also excellent. Andy Serkis, Ben Kingsley, and Kelsey Grammer all have roughly similar-sized cameos roles, and none of them feel like stunt casting. Andy Serkis is commanding, charismatic, and clearly having a great time with his over-the-top role. Ben Kingsley brings a quiet authority to every scene he's in, and Kelsey Grammer leaves a strong impression despite limited screen time. What I appreciated most is the story they chose to tell. If you asked most studios to make a George Washington movie for America's 250th anniversary, they'd probably make another Revolutionary War movie or focus on him becoming president. Instead, this is about everything before that. It's about the failures, the failed romance, surveying the frontier, his early military mistakes, even fighting alongside the British before history turned him against them. Unless you're already a history buff, a lot of this is probably a story you don't know. In most biopics, a story like this would be condensed into a 5-minute montage before getting to the famous parts. Here, they're the movie, and I found that much more interesting. I also appreciated that the film doesn't completely sanitize history. It acknowledges Native Americans and the land that was taken from them. It shows enslaved children being forced into conflict. Washington makes mistakes, loses battles, and isn't portrayed as some flawless American superhero. At the same time, it's absolutely historical fiction. Some dialogue feels very 21st century, and parts of Washington's life are simplified or glorified. But none of that really hurt my enjoyment. It's all just nitpicks. One of my favorite moments comes near the end when a British officer asks Washington why'd he risk his own life for his own men. His answer is simple: because this is his home. The British crossed an ocean to fight there. Washington was fighting for the place he was born. It's a small scene, but it plants a seed for the leader he'll eventually become. The audience reaction surprised me almost as much as the movie itself. People were laughing, gasping during the action scenes, completely silent during the emotional ones, and when the credits rolled, the audience applauded. That's something I usually only see at opening night screenings here in Los Angeles, so seeing it happen on a Tuesday night was pretty cool. One thing that also surprised me was learning that this isn't intended to be a standalone movie. Angel Studios clearly wants to continue telling Washington's story, and after seeing this, I'm really interested in where they go next. Whether it's the Revolutionary War, his presidency, or even a larger series following other American presidents, I think this was the smart place to begin. Rather than starting with the moments moments everyone already knows, they started with the moments that shaped the man. I also appreciate that while Angel Studios is known for faith-based films, this movie doesn't feel like a sermon. Faith is clearly present, as it was through much of early and current American history, and there are moments suggesting Washington was being guided by Providence, especially a pretty big one towards the end, but those moments never really overwhelm the story. They feel like one piece of who he and the country was, rather than the entire point of the movie. Is Young Washington revolutionary filmmaking? No. Ironically, George Washington was more revolutionary than the movie about him, but it's well made, it's well acted, it's surprisingly ambitious for its budget, and it tells a story I genuinely hadn't seen before. I walked away learning something, enjoying myself, and wanting to see where they take this story next. On Letterboxd, I gave Young Washington a 3.5 out of 5 stars. You can see the full review in the description down below. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this review, let me know down in the comments down below, or consider giving this video a like or subscribing to the channel. Thank you so much for watching this one, and I'll see you guys in the next one.